Welcome again to Leaders on the Mic. And again, we're still here at Velocity. It's the second day of the conference. It's been so enlightening. We have been able to participate in a lot of different, not only panels, which of course we're lucky, but also conversations, right? Outside the room where, people, exchange opinions and exchange, feedback. And so it's been really enlightening. I have enjoyed it tremendously. Of course, working with our team of LDC has been also a joy. With that, I want to talk a little bit of our next guest. And some of you may know that we have a tremendous partnership with Kantar. Kantar happens to be the leading market research company for the consumer product industry. And so we couldn't be more lucky and more joyful to work with them constantly. And that partnership has brought in incredible partnerships, personal partnerships in terms of research, very specific research. In this case, our guest and I participated in a panel just about an hour ago. And I got really good feedback, I have to say.
Me too.
Right?
I think we gave him something really different to think about and very actionable, which I think is great.
Exactly. I want to tell the audience that we invite leaders to this podcast, but not only leaders. There are a lot of leaders and we're proud of them and we love them, but we want leaders that are able to use their voice to create a change. And so that's why the name of the podcast is Leaders on the Mic, because we want voices being heard. And so that's why we invited you. And we're very honored to have you.
Yes, I am Julie Craig. I lead Shopper Insights for Kantar Retail. We do a lot of real deep dives into who is shopping at different retailers, why they're shopping, how they're making choices, and what are the motivations, especially as we go through all the turbulence and all the tough times that people are experiencing today. We want to understand what are they prioritizing, and then what is it that kind of motivates different groups of people to make different choices. So it's all about understanding the root of choice.
Wow, that's a fascinating job.
Yes.
Because you're always current, right? Change is the only constant, and so you are needed all the time.
You are never done.
Exactly, you're never
always
done.
Always doing work.
Absolutely, what a great job, and how lucky we are that that you exist in that group, because we get to know, especially now as you delivered the information in the panel, we need to know where we stand with the changing policies, changing market, changing consumption patterns. So
that's right. And there's so much out there. It's important to understand what really matters to the shopper and what is just kind of noise or distraction or buzz. What is it that brands and retailers really need to be focused in on when they try to understand the consumer and create programs and products and promotions that resonate with all different types of consumers. So it's really important to kind of thread the needle through all of the everything.
Exactly. Absolutely. You guys were sharing that you've gotten a lot of calls from brands, from companies saying, so how is the Latino community reacting to this environment, right? And we're talking about the environment from this administration. We're not political, but we are just factful, right? And so there is a change. And so you get these calls from your clients saying, so we see a change in consumption. We see that our brand is not maybe moving as fast. Is it us? Is it also other brands? Is it other communities? And what an important role that you're playing right now.
That's right, because they need someone outside of their own walls to kind of tell them what's really happening. There's what the brands and retailers kind of want to believe, what they hope is true, and the reality, which is that we're undergoing this sort of seismic shift. And while there's definitely a lot of trepidation out there, there's this sense, especially amongst the Latino community, of wanting to mitigate risk, wanting to be careful and cautious, that's forcing them to kind of rethink the way they come into the retail environment. But there are other forces kind of at play that kind of create these longer term headwinds that we're running into. So when brands and retailers call, the first question is it just us? They ask, how long is this going to go on for? And then the most important question is, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do? So.
You're the experts and you're asked to predict the future, which is impossible. So
if I could do that, I would be on a beach somewhere.
Exactly.
I would be sipping drinks. But
exactly. A billionaire.
A billionaire, really.
Maybe, yeah, I would say trillionaire. You're absolutely right. It's that level. Yeah.
Another zero.
You're absolutely right. I agree.
But it's difficult because you can't predict the future. But what we can do is take all of the data that we have and use it to make the best possible decisions and try to predict outcomes. And the situation that we're in now is, as you mentioned during our session, even during COVID, we didn't see this kind of movement amongst the Latino community as we're seeing now. So it really is important to go to your data, have someone help you get a clear look at what is happening so that you can make the best decision.
Absolutely. I agree. Julie, before we go into this, which I can't wait to share what you have because you're really brilliant in this matter. But before that, I want to ask you, because I always feel like you are so empathetic. And so is it something within your background, your upbringing or something that makes you really, I feel like you're in touch with what's happening, right? And it's not a happy moment for this community, for the Latino community, but I feel like you understand this.
Yeah. So I have 3 teenage boys, 2 teenage boys and 1 20-year-old.
Oh,
so
okay.
A very important 3 months.
Yes, of course.
And my older 2 boys are on the autism spectrum. So they are, are involved in community programs. We work a lot with the school districts. We work with local businesses to make sure that the boys are getting every opportunity. And we know that with different administrations comes different policies, and some of the programs that our community, our special needs communities depends on, some of those programs are up for, let's call it a creative reshuffling, if you will.
Yeah, that's a very positive and nice way of calling it.
Well, we could get really angry, and we can think about what is it that we do to get our families to the other side.
Great.
So we have to think about what does the future look like, because we all want the same thing. We all want happiness and joy. We all want our families and the people that we care about to come out on the other side intact, whole, happy, and productive. So we're all in it together. We look across everyone that sits within the special needs community, and we see that there are some folks that are more fortunate than others, and our job is to reach out and lend a hand to people that need that extra. So that's who we are.
That's an incredible lesson on how really situations in life can make you very in tune with everybody that needs, some kind of that is going through challenging opportunities. And so, and now I understand why you understand this section a little bit,
Everyone
more
has
than
a story. You just have to be willing to listen and to pick up on sometimes what's not being said.
Absolutely. And of course we could go on forever about specificity, but yes, it's a double whammy in your case, like us, right? It's like the change in general, but it's also the specific area that is being talked about differently, full of changes, full of trends. And so, yes, I understand how you see that. In specifically in the case of Latinos, I think what we haven't talked about, and I'm going to say this as a Latina and in a personal matter, I have never felt in this country, I'm an immigrant and I've been in this country for 30 years, but I have never, ever felt, I don't want to say fear because I don't want to be alarmist, but I've never felt so in need of being cautious.
Yes.
And that has been like, I'm now traveling with my American passport. I do have, concerns about what I say, where I say it. I'm more aware when I speak in Spanish, which shouldn't be, right? Because I lived in Europe for 4 years, and in any other country in this world, when you have a second language, it's actually a gift. But in this country lately is a problem, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying this because I hear your numbers and I see how Latinos have changed their consumption. And what I feel like, I felt it personal, the way you were sharing the numbers about Latinos changing patterns, maybe buying the same amounts and the same brands, but at the same time buying them differently, right?
Yes.
Maybe ordering them in. We have a lot of services available in this country to do that. But I also feel like there's less gatherings. Like, I think, right, there's less parties and there's less celebration and there's less music. And, kind of people want to blend in as much as possible.
There's that sense of wanting to be under the radar, so, and we see that. We see that in the data where we see people kind of celebrating differently, being in the home. We're not going to go out. How can we have this celebration within our own walls? So we definitely see that. It's a shift.
I remember seeing on the news, like, I think it was a Wall Street Journal, the CEO of Constellation Brands saying, "Please stop harassing Latinos. They're not partying enough." And Constellation Brands, for those that don't know, is Modelo Brands, right? Modelo Beer. And so Modelo Beer went, by betting on the Latino community 8 years ago, they went from number 18 beer all the way to number 1 beer. Even more successful than Budweiser and these traditional American brands, knowing that Modelo is an imported brand. That's a big, big deal. And they bet on the Latino community and they won with everybody, because you don't get to number 1 only with one community.
Right.
But even them, right? They're saying in the last 6 months, we're struggling, and it's not competitiveness with other brands. It's just competitiveness with the time. People are not gathering.
That's right. That's right. And it's, part of it, I think, is also this holdover from the pandemic, where we kind of got used to not doing as much. But even we were saying during our panel, like, people went right back to prior pandemic habits. But now we really are seeing people turning more inward. And at the same time, we're seeing people shop for occasions differently. So maybe we're not going to buy as many new decor items. Maybe we're not going to host a big meal, just a smaller meal. The other thing we're seeing a lot of is a really notable increase quarter over quarter in the share of shoppers who are shopping for other people. So we're seeing that kind of trip consolidation. So it's a really interesting shift across the board. And what is also interesting is that increase in shopping for other people is not just amongst the Latino community. It is across all shoppers. Everyone is kind of looking around and trying to do a little more for the people in their communities. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of things at play.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is that, also the values of the Latino community come up, right? So it's let's help each other within the family, but also let's help each other within the community.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And we see that in our data as well. We ask shoppers, we have several research vehicles. We'd have a monthly shopping tracker where we talk to 3,000 shoppers every month. We do some quarterly pieces. We do some annual pieces. But what they all point to is this increase amongst Latino shoppers in wanting to shop according to their personal values, which means there's a huge opportunity in storytelling. If you can talk to this consumer about who you are, what you stand for, what it is that you are doing to support people in the community. We heard Jessica Bird from IKEA talk about that during our session.
It was brilliant. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And I hope you talk to her next.
Yes.
But
We are going to. Yeah.
Yes. But it's so interesting seeing the data increase year by year, quarter over quarter, in the share of shoppers who say it's important to me to shop from brands and retailers that support the local community, that specifically say that support my local community, who say, I want to know who you are and what you stand for so that I can make an informed choice. And at the end of the day, in troubled financial times, it's about this consumer wanting to be a smarter shopper. And they're so good. This is a young consumer, digitally native. They're so good at taking in all this information, processing it, and making a decision. You can't tell them enough stories.
Yeah.
So that and they want to know what it is they are investing in. So
I remember, Julie, in our first report that we did together, Kantar and the LDC, there was this, so we did, focus groups and interviews and a bunch of other great resources to capture some of that information from young Latinos, the ones that you're talking about. And I remember there was an underserved young boy, 18 years old, about to go to college in a full ride, first gen. And the interviewer says, it's August. Are you ready to go to college? What else do you need to do? And he said, I'm super ready. The only thing I need to do is, buy a computer. And the interviewer says, what computer are you buying? And he said, Apple. And the interviewer said, why Apple? If you could get something very similar for much less money. And he said, and this really kind of changed my way of thinking. He said, because I did my research, and Apple has 1 Latina board member, 2 Latino C-suite, and me and my family feel represented in the advertising that they have. I got chills. I'm like, this is what marketers should know from the beginning. My generation of Latinos, we wanted to blend in. We were super loyal with brands, and we still are super loyal with our brands. The next generation is not. Exactly as you're saying, they're watching.
They're watching, and they know they have choices.
Yes.
When I was growing up, we had Bounty or Scott towels. We had very few choices. And now the choices are infinite. And the information is infinite. And so loyalty is on the line. It is up for grabs amongst this young consumer. They know I'll just go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
The representation is so important, and it goes beyond this just translating into Spanish.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It has to happen at that, it has to become an organizational priority. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just not going to land.
It's not authentic. If it's not a commitment from the company, it's not authentic. And it really transpires. And this younger consumer is so much more savvy. And it's so much more, they need authenticity. And that's so, so important.
And they know what it looks like when you are, and they know what it looks like when you're not. So there's so many examples out there that they can go, you walked away from who you are.
Yeah.
You're pandering.
Exactly. And they actually turn them off.
Yes.
Forget about, oh no, I don't like you. It's like, no, it's like, I'm not going to buy from you.
Yes.
There's actually a counter effect when you pretend to have, I always say this, tacos and sombreros, and think that that's what it is, right? And one point to what you were saying, 94% of all Latinos that are less than 18 years old were born here. And their language is English. So that's another very important part to what you were saying about, it's not about translating in Spanish.
Right.
It doesn't work for them because they're first, and they love their parents and they speak Spanish, hopefully as a second language, but their first language is English. So I gotta say, Julie, there's so much more to talk about, but I want to close with this. We've seen, like Coke, the CEO of Coke coming into the newspaper saying, hey, the perception of who we are from Latinos, decreased our sales 3.3% just about 2 months ago. Jack on the Box, the same, right? We saw the effect on, I feel so bad for the people from Target, the CEO of Target, right? Who, of course, the winner there was Costco. But we've seen all these effects on companies where the power of the Latino consumer is now out there. It's like out of the box. Right. They're not, CEOs are not afraid about talking about it. They're not afraid about it. It is the time for us to galvanize that power as consumers and start asking for what we want.
Absolutely.
Right?
We are voting with our dollars.
Exactly. Yes. I think that's the perfect way of closing this. We are voting, consuming and watching and, talking about every industry, everything that we actually do. is about our dollars. And if you don't believe in diversity per se, use our numbers, your numbers and my numbers, because we're not about diversity. We're not about philanthropy. We're about the business angle.
That's right.
And that's where, our partnership is really made in heaven.
Wonderful.
And Julie, I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's a joy. It will be a joy because we pretend to make many more reports and activities with you. And so thanks for giving us your time.
Thank you.